Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the board where we have pick and roll for you every weekday morning around 11:15, 11:30 a.m. Eastern time to discuss NBA betting and just more general things around the league. And we're coming back today, Friday. There were no picks that were given out, no official picks that were given out, but making up for that today, there's going to be 3 same game parlays coming for you a little bit later on in the show. And also a little bit of extra maybe betting insight provided from our discussion piece for today. Still a loaded episode. That being said, we've done about 70 of these streams so far this season. That was the first time out of 70 that we did not give out an official pick. That is the most viewed live stream on this channel. So I was hoping that despite the no picks, we could still come up with some great information for you guys, still come up with some great content, and you guys liked it. It is the most popular stream on the channel for now. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. I was kind of worried about that one, but it seemed to, I enjoyed it, Pips enjoyed it, and apparently you guys did as well. So no recap for today's stream on the picks. We will talk about the record on this season. However, it's been a great season so far if you've been tailing the picks on the show. So far, a 74-55 record, plus 10 units, 6.7% ROI. So if you guys have been enjoying all that stuff, enjoying the picks, smash the like button on this stream. And also, please make sure you're subscribed to the board. We're getting very close to 600 subs on this channel. I want to move towards 1,000. So no recap. We're going to go right into our discussion piece. And this is from a few days ago, but it's still, I think there's actionable info that we can take off it, which is why I wanted to make it part of our discussion. I'm sure if you're an NBA fan, you've seen online discussions surrounding Jaren Jackson Jr.'s home and away defensive stat splits. Jaren Jackson Jr., who we spoke about on Thursday as the leading candidate to win the Defensive Player of the Year. There is quite a discrepancy in his home and away stats, and we're going to talk about the validity of that and what we can do with this information. So before I get Pips in here, I'll just read off how different they are. So at home in Memphis, he has 66 blocks in 16 games, which is 4.13 a game, 4.13. In road games, he has 35 in still 16 games, which is 2.19. Pretty much same minutes, but it's gone from 4.13 blocks to 2.19 home versus away. And in the steals category, he has 22 steals at home, and he only has 10 steals away from home. So 1.4 steals per game at home, 0.63 steals in away games. So that's 88 blocks plus steals at home versus 45 on the road. So I'm thinking, like, if you were tracking this before this became public, you could have made a lot of money betting on home games. That being said, Pips, this is a question about the scorekeeper. Do you take any validity to what's being said here?
No, not at all. So I'll just also we bet him once on the show this season.
Yeah,
and it was a home game.
Yeah,
He didn't cover, and that's the only game he didn't cover at home in the entire season.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, so his like one healthy season was in 2020, and he also had a bit more blocks and steals at home, like not that margin, but like same number of games, and he had 41 blocks at away and 51 block at home, and also more steals at home than at away, but like not a huge difference. But I will say I actually rewatched almost every steal and block of his home record. It's easy, like you need 1 hour to look at it all. And I'll say there are a couple of questionable ones, but even if you take them out, and it's like 5 of total, it's still a huge difference. So I don't see and also Kevin O'Connor did the same. He posted a couple of questionable ones, and even those questionable ones, you have a good reason to give it to Jaren Jackson Jr. So I'm not a huge that just shows how data home and away split is some guys just play harder at home. So we could be the same thing about his 3-point shooting. He's shooting 40% at home and 34% away. That's also huge difference, 6%. That's like from below average shooter to above average shooter. So there is always stuff like this, and I know it's a huge discrepancy, and we'll see throughout the season. It will it like even out a bit, like or something. But yeah, the last game, like last night, he also had like amazing game at home. He
Yep.
had 5 blocks and 1 steal, and everyone was watching it and covering it closely, and nothing was suspicious in that game. And he still has 6 stocks. Like, yeah, game
Yeah.
before they were away at the Wolves, and he had 2 blocks and 2 steals. So like away game still covers. So I don't know, man.
Yeah, I like that you did the research firsthand. I pulled up another person who did the same research, and it's kind of crazy. He came up with the same numbers as you because it's pretty accurate. This is Kurt Goldsberry, ESPN analyst, very recognizable person in NBA media. He said he watched all 66 blocks. 3 to 5 are questionable. Two are definitely sus, as he says here. I'm not going to show the videos because of copyright issues on YouTube, but you kind of came up with the same figures there. I just think people want to think sports are rigged. Like sports are like other than like specific examples, like the early 2000s Lakers against the Kings in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Like that's like one instance we can really come down to in the last 20 or so years. But people want to think sports are so rigged, but they genuinely are not. We can come up with a lot of other theories as to why Jaren Jackson Jr. has better home and away splits. The biggest one is like players play better at home. And also like sometimes just strange occurrences, like coincidences like this can happen where it's just so different home and away. Like also like it's a player plays better home. Some of the points are outlined here, which I also have. The Grizzlies at home are 20-3 and are 11-5 when they're on the road. So they're just a better overall team at home, and he's just a better player at home. Based on many stats that we have outlined here. Like it's a lot easier to say like just some strange things can happen. A player can play better at home. The team overall is better at home rather than saying the scorekeeper is rigging stuff in his favor. And you mentioned like a couple of iffy ones. I think you could go through every player in the league and come up with a couple that like, oh, maybe he should have been credited with that. But like I think people are overblowing this. But despite like we feel like it's overblown, we've seen a quite a drastic shift in DPOI voting. So, or the markets at least. So we did a show. This is kind of wanted to cover this. On Thursday, we did a show where Jaren Jackson was like minus 210, 220, and Nic Claxton was plus 700. This has been taken as actionable info, and Nic Claxton's down to, he was actually under 400 yesterday. He's up to plus 400 now. So there's been quite a sharp difference in people taking this as actionable info. I'm going to make the case here. So I spoke about this before we came on with Pips. Jaren Jackson Jr., while he was out, the Memphis Grizzlies had the 19th best defense. They're now number 1, and it's directly as a result of Jaren Jackson Jr. being back. Like we can safely say Jaren Jackson Jr.'s presence allows him to be the number 1 defense. Also, the people who actually vote on these awards have now spent the last few days deep diving on Jaren Jackson Jr.'s defensive games, many of which are looking at this go, he's even better than we thought just by watching all these clips over again. So I'm going to give this as some actionable info. Usually not my place to give out picks, but Jaren Jackson Jr., Pips was in agreement that he should be minus 200 or so. Well, he's minus 175 DraftKings. He's actually minus 155 at BetMGM. And basically, nothing has happened the last few days that would take away any of his claim to winning this award. Yet you're getting him now at minus 155 at MGM instead of where he was like minus 200. So I think that's something worth looking into for Jaren Jackson Jr. What do you think about that, Pips, the angle I'm kind of taking there?
So the last time we saw like the lines, I was like, okay, that's probably realistic. And of course, I just checked before the show also the lines and saw minus 155 at BetMGM. And if I was into betting futures, I would certainly take a look at that. And I think it has value for sure.
Yeah, so on Thursday I said plus 700 in Claxton like actually looks pretty good. I said
Also,
that as well.
I'll do one more thing for the next show. I'll go back and rewatch every block of Claxton and Steele, and I'll just name questionable ones. So we'll see the difference
Okay.
between those ones.
That would be good to know. So
Yeah.
it's all about the price. Like on Friday, I said like plus 700 Claxton, we're getting our free bets with the Doncic thing. That might be worth a look. By the time I got my free bet, Claxton was down to 390. So I stayed away from that. But then I over the next couple of days, I'm like, well, nothing has really changed here except for this narrative it's just this is more of a story than anything. Like it's just overblowing something that's not even there. Well, Jaren Jackson, like now this price seems to be really valuable. So it's all about the price beyond the handicap. And I do bet a few NBA futures. So minus 155 did look good to me at BetMGM. So that's kind of why I wanted to bring it up on everything, because I feel like the betting market reacting to such information is just like really, really strange. And I saw a lot of people thinking that Claxton was all of a sudden, well, I mean, clearly at 700, he's now 400. That was a valuable play. But regardless, I find that so interesting, the way the market reacted. A lot of trades happening in the NBA in the next few days. Somebody's bringing up that a proposed trade for Crowder going to the Milwaukee Bucks. I guess we could touch on this quickly before we go into the official picks. I'm excited for the next few days. As a Raptors fan, we're going to be one of the biggest sellers, I think, at the deadline. There's going to be a lot happening around the Raptors, which I'm sure we'll talk about when we get there. But Crowder to the Bucks, do you see? I mean, the fit is there. What do you think his impact could be on the Bucks in their bid to win another championship this season, if that does happen?
So I was like saying they need a player like that, like Wesley Matthews, but a bit younger, and Crowder fits that. They're great, and they just need a good wing with good size. They just can't be playing like Grayson Allen at the small forward, and that's not working. And yeah, I did think the fit is great. If you have Drew Holiday, Chris Middleton, Jay Crowder, Giannis, and Brook Lopez, that's five great defensive players. And yeah, it will be, and when you play drop coverage, it will be very difficult to score against them.
So he's obviously quite different, not quite different, but PJ Tucker was the power forward on that championship roster, and having Jay Crowder in there instead. They're different players, but they're also like, three and like comfortable 3-and-D sort of players. They stick to their role. They're the fifth man on offense. So I think the fit is very much there. I always find players like Crowder interesting because if Crowder was on a bad team, he would like not be an effective player. But on good teams, he's so valuable because he knows his role. He can hit, like, some games he'll go 5 for 5 from three. Some games he'll go 0 for 7. But overall, he's a somewhat decent shooter, but he's a solid defender. He's been to an NBA Finals with Phoenix. He's been to an NBA Finals with Miami. So there is definitely value to the player there. All right, let's go into the official picks of the segment of the show now. Finally, some official picks. 3 same game parlays coming your way today. First of all, we are going to the Wizards, who visit the Spurs, and we got some plus money. Take it away from here, Pips.
So we are betting on Keldon Johnson to score over 19.5 points combined with Porzingis over 17.5 points, and we get the plus 100 at DraftKings. Yeah, this is the game, probably the best game to bet overs in the entire slate. We have Wizards, we have Spurs, we have like expected 240 points, and of course going to overs with guys that usually cover these lines that have great range of scoring. And if you show the graph with Porzingis, that's like amazing value. So yeah, he just covered this line in like 27 of the last 30 games in 25 more minutes, and he's now, and it's like covering it by quite some margin, like always getting 20 to 22 points, and now getting the Spurs that allows second most points to opposing power forwards and the most points overall in the entire league. So I think this is a good spot to go to Porzingis. They are pretty small at the four with Sohan and KDB. So I think like size and going to the line and like their the drop coverage. So great spot for Porzingis here. Also, Bill is playing, so more attention on him. So like, yeah, great spot for Porzingis against the Spurs. And on the other side, Wizards are like the team that just give single coverage and drop deep, and Kellen Johnson should be able to cover this line pretty easily. Kellen Johnson was actually covering this line almost entire season, but like if you take a look at since he came back from the injury, 9 games, he only didn't cover this line against the Golden State Warriors in 30 points blowout. And the second time that he didn't cover, he scored 19 points in a 40 points blowout against the Clippers. So he was close in a huge blowout, and I don't see a huge blowout coming tonight. And this is probably one of the best matchups for him because he's drive heavy in finishing inside and shooting threes like way above the 3-point line. And yeah, great spot for Keldon and for Porzingis, and we are getting plus money. And if this game can just stay close, we are good here.
Yeah, you've liked betting on Porzingis a little bit this season, also betting against the Wizards just because you've outlined it many times. They play guys 1v1. They play drop coverage. Keldon Johnson's a guy who can definitely expose that the way he's been playing. Plus money is also very nice. So let's move now into the second play. Usually before we start, people like to predict what you're going to bet against, and somebody correctly figured out that you want to bet against the Sacramento Kings today as they are visiting the Minnesota Timberwolves. Here's the second play.
So the second play is Rudy Gobert over 9.5 rebounds combined with Anthony Edwards to score 25 more points, over 24.5 points, but it's shown as 25 plus, and that puts 100 at DraftKings. So this is the repeated game. Like these two teams played 2 days ago, and Anthony Edwards had a huge game. That's probably expected against the Kings. Like every like talented like shooting guard or power forward or point guard like is scoring a lot of points against the Kings because their defense is obviously not great. And I'll just say over the last 5 games, Anthony Edwards scored 44, 31, 37, 25, and 34. And these 25 points, like the lowest of these 5 games, were like against the Memphis Grizzlies with Dylan Brooks and #1 defense overall. And he still ended up scoring 25 points. In the last game against the Kings, he scored 34. So I think he's in a great position to score 25 more. And for the Rudy Gobert, like, can you just show the chart? Like, this is easy because this graph shows last 10 games with 30 or more minutes for Rudy Gobert, and he had 11 or more in every game, and he had 14 rebounds against the Kings 2 days ago. So Rudy Gobert is getting back to the shape. He's starting to play 34, 35 minutes a night again, and with Sabonis being the huge part of the most important part of Kings offense, they need Gobert out there. And Sabonis is playing like 38 to 40 minutes a night. So they need huge minutes for Gobert. And when Gobert, like, it was ridiculous to see. For me, initially, it was ridiculous to see Rudy Gobert line set at 11-point half. Like, that's the guy that averages like 14 rebounds per 36 minutes in his career. And when he gets 35 minutes or more, like, I expected his line to be 12 or even 30.5, because if you take a look at the graph, over the last 10 games, he averages almost 14 rebounds. So, yeah, it's 30.9 rebounds when he gets over 30 minutes. So, I just love this line. And combined with, like, Anthony Edwards, it's a bit of correlated bet because they both need to get the minutes, and they will both get the minutes if the game stays close. So, yeah, I just love getting plus 100 on this one.
Yeah, so if you guys have checked out Pips' interview on the Circles Off YouTube channel, he spoke about kind of when he doesn't usually like to bet on rebounding. So if I'll just say, I kind of speak for you here. If you're taking a rebound bet, you must really, really like that bet because you try to stay away from rebound because it's a little bit higher variance because, like, the ball just has to bounce the
Yeah.
right way. Whereas points, it's just, you can, unless a guy is out of rhythm, not shooting well,
Then,
which you can't predict,
then,
it's fine.
when I'm betting rebounds, it's obviously like guys that are centers because like
Yeah.
lowest variance. Like you don't want to bet rebounds on the guards. Like if they miss it, like by like if you need like to see like expect like 4.5 and you get 3.5 with good price, okay, like probably profitable on the long term. But I just don't like that's like flipping a coin, and there is no huge value there. And also you can bet guys like Julius Randle or Draymond Green that are playing at 4 and they are rebound heavy wings, but that's about it.
Somebody's also raising Gobert's questionable for this one. I just quickly looked it up. So he's questionable for the last 2 games, did
Yep.
play 31 minutes in both of those games. So
Yep.
the assumption here, I'm sure, is that if he does play, then he's a full go to play like the 36 plus to have to deal with Sabonis.
Yeah, he played like 4 straight games, and I don't see it. He actually played. The last game was back to back, and he still played. So he had a day rest. That's like LeBron James being questionable for every game. That's
Yeah.
like he's just on the injury report. He's healthy. Like he's ready to play.
All right. All of that makes sense. Let's move into the third play here. Going to the Golden State Warriors against the Oklahoma City Thunder. 2 marquee point guards are involved in this one.
So we are betting Shea to score over 28.5 points combined with Curry going for 3 or more threes. So I'll just say Shea. He had a couple of games in a row where he didn't cover this line because like there was the games like against the teams they were up like double digits entire game and he let the other guys scores. But I don't think that will be the case in this game. Like when the game is tough, when they need his scoring to win, he'll score. And he showed that in the last 4 games. Like they were underdogs in 4 straight games, and he scored 37, 34, 36, 35. And I actually watched, I think, every of this game, and him scoring 35 points against the Cleveland Cavaliers was pretty impressive. Like the defense of him was unbelievably good, and he still ended up like easily going over this line. And I like the pace against the Golden State Warriors. These are one of the highest paced teams in the league. Single coverage, Golden State never double anyone. At least I didn't see it in the entire season. So like also huge drop coverage. Like they have the lowest point of drop coverage we ever like seen in the entire league. Like their drop coverage is like to the line of the rim protection line. I don't know how the line is called. Like the line when you can get in to block the shot. Like I don't know how it's called.
Like the restricted area.
Yeah, the restricted area line, they will just be outside and just put hands up and let everyone shoot over. So I'll I just take the moment to just one data to show this. So okay, so if you take a look at the team data, like the data of positional defending, like the teams how they defend some positions, it's so interesting to look at the Golden State Warriors because they allow 17 attempts from the restricted area, and the league average is 27. They allow 17 at the restricted area, and the league average is 27. The second lowest after Golden State Warriors is Miami Heat with 21, and Golden State Warriors have 17. Also, so second part interesting about this bet is attempts from the restricted area, from the paint, but not restricted area. So like close to the rim, but from the paint, but like couple of feet outside of the paint.
Yeah.
So this is even crazier. So Golden State Warriors allows 28 attempts in that area, and the league average is 16. And they allow 28. They allow 28, and the second most is the Washington Wizards with 21. So that's how crazy deep they get to just defend the rim at any cost and allow like 5 feet shots like wide open. And the thing
Yeah.
about Shea is that he's probably one of the best at shooting them. So I think he'll be in a great position. Like Shea this season, 900 attempts, he had 50% of the shots like between 3 feet to 15 feet. So that's that area that Golden State allows the most in the entire league, by far the most. And that's where Shea is great. And also, they are fouling a lot, and Shea is just living on the line. And he should be, and also great thing for Shea is high pace, and he has everything. So this is like perfect matchup for Shea. And also, like Wiggins is not healthy enough, I think, to guard him entire game, and he's just getting back. This is the first game back, and yeah, love this point.
Yeah. Other side, Curry.
Yeah,
Other side.
yeah, you can just show the graph, and that will speak for itself. He covered this line in 32 or 33 games this season, and the only game he didn't cover it was the game against the Pacers, where he shot 2 from 10. And yeah, that's not something that usually happens with Steph Curry. And yeah, just love this spot for him.
So I just quickly looked up team defense ratings. Golden State's like right in the middle of the league. So I kind of feel like Golden State pioneered I guess Houston as well as Golden State, where they focus on efficiency with analytics and shooting. So not shooting in mid range, shooting at the rim, shooting from three. But I never thought of that approach from a defensive standpoint, giving up that sort of inefficient range and sort of the mid-range shot. So mid-range would be like, for me, just to easily describe it, non-paint twos. So for some reason, I'm so like infatuated with the analytics behind shooting, scoring efficiency, which is why I think the modern NBA is so good, because teams are just so smart at how they score. I've never thought of it from the other end, where you defend the three and you defend the rim. But if they want to take a so-called inefficient shot in mid-range, you're more comfortable to allow that to happen. So
yeah,
that's a really cool read.
Yeah, that's the main thing with drop coverage. Like,
yeah, of course.
That's the reason their team started playing. The way more teams are now playing drop coverage and than the seasons before. And also the thing is like, why are the Bucks the best defense in the league? Drop coverage, great rim protector, great weak side defender, a great point of attack defender. Like, you can put any other two guys in this team, and that won't affect. Like, Drew Holiday as point of attack, Brook Lopez as the drop coverage guy, and Giannis as the helper. You can put any two players next to these two guys, and they will have still like top 10 defense in the league.
Yeah. I mean, I've always like the concept of drop coverage always made sense, but the way Golden State lean into it so hard, I wonder. I just wonder if there's any sort of data that they've gotten on that.
Yeah, that's for sure. Like, they are playing that kind of defense like for like a couple of seasons now, like 5-6 years, and it's all because of the analytics.
Yeah,
Data just shows that. Yeah, why would you like rim attempts like 70%? Like, you are getting like 1.3 points per 100 possessions.
Oh, of course.
Yeah. Threes. If you have below average shooter like 34%, you are getting also 1.2 points per possession. And when you have like above average, great mid-range shooter, he's still getting you probably under 1 point per 100 possession. So of course, like, yeah, that's the best defense. But
yeah,
the thing that Golden State have troubles is that when you allow people to get inside, to get to that mid-range shots, so they are driving heavily, so they are fouling a lot, and there is no better like efficient than scoring than going to the free throw line. So they just need to like stop fouling. But yeah, it makes sense. Like, when you from the data, like if you like for that example, but did it like it's like deeper than that. Like, when you allow drives and like you more foul more often, and with that, like if you have a guy like shooting 50% from mid range, that's 1 point per like 100 possession. But if you if he makes like 10 attempts and score 5s and you foul him twice, that's still like going to like 1.3 points per 100 possessions. So yeah, it's a bit deeper, but yeah.
I mean, yeah, all that makes sense. There's no real mystery behind the scoring spike this season in the league. Its teams are smarter with their numbers, smarter with data. They're more efficient. They score more as a result. Like, that's why the league is the way it is. But also, like, for like, because I don't like the mid-range shot. I'm sure you kind of feel the same. But there are certain players in the league who have the green light, like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Like, big example is Kevin Durant. The mid-range shot's inefficient for like 99% of the league, but each team probably has like one, maybe two guys who are just so good at it that you have to continue to allow them to do it.
It's a bit more. Like, I would like to say like 10 guys, like DeMar DeRozan, Devin Booker, Chris Paul. Like, there are guys like still that Kyrie Irving. Like, there are like 10 players in the entire league that should have a green light to just shoot them, because
the only thing
I was to say, one of my favorite players were like James Harden. Was a huge like when D'Antoni came to the Houston, they just it was forbidden to shoot like mid range. And James Harden is unbelievable at the mid-range. He was one of the best in the league. And he will also get fouled like 2 out of the 10 times he gets inside. So it was like crazy efficient and just took away it from him. And you had Chris Paul and James Harden, 2 great mid-range shooters playing without mid-range shot. Like, that was like probably the thing why they didn't win the championship together.
Makes it. And one more point on the mid-range shot for guys who aren't quite at that level. Like, Siakam's a good example of this. Sometimes being just good enough in mid-range makes people defend you more in those spots, which allows a player like Siakam, who is unbelievable at finishing at the rim, which gives him that extra space. So that's why the top players need that shot, because it just makes defense think more, gives you more space in different areas. So those are the reasons for the mid-range shot. And I don't know, interesting on that.
I'm going to say also one more thing. Like, we have like one thing new in the league, and that's a floater shot. And that's only because of the drop coverage, because players need to figure out how to beat it. So like players like Trae Young and like a couple of more players, they needed to figure out the great shot to just beat the drop coverage. So yeah, the defense changed, then offense changed, and then the defense changed again, and that's the NBA evolving, and that's why I love it so much.
The ever evolving NBA, always finding new ways to beat teams. That's why we love it so much. All right, let's recap the picks. Let's end this one off. First of all, first official play, we have Johnson over 19.5 points, so 20 plus, mixed with Porzingis over 17.5 points in the Wizards-Spurs game. That is plus 100 odds at DraftKings. Second play is the Kings at the Timberwolves, leaning on Minnesota hard for this one. Rudy Gobert, 10 plus rebounds, over 9.5 rebounds, paired with Edwards over 24.5 points, otherwise known as 25 plus points, which is also plus 100 DraftKings. So 2 plus odds to start us off. And the third one, Warriors at Thunder, which we spoke extensively about the Warriors and the way they play defense, which is why Shai Gilgeous-Alexander over 20.5 points is paired with Steph Curry over 2.5 threes, which he has cleared every single game except for one that he has featured in this season. That is minus 115 at DraftKings. So 3 solid plays. Hopefully we can find some picks to cash here. If you guys are enjoying the shows, tailing the picks, winning some money with Pips' bets, then please make sure you are subscribed to the board on YouTube. We're almost at 600 subs. Want to eventually get that to 1,000 subs, of course. Also, please be sure to smash the like button on this stream to help us get on some more recommended pages. Really does go a long way to supporting the channel. If you're listening in podcast form, rate and review 5 stars. If you're on Twitter, tell a friend about the show. Tell a friend about the picks. And maybe we can find a new viewer to listen to us tomorrow. We go live every weekday around 11:15, 11:30 a.m. Eastern time. Twitter, podcast a little bit after that, and of course on YouTube. Thanks so much, guys, for tuning in. We will see you tomorrow for more from myself and Pips.